Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we're talking about social media and the role of social media with regards to photography. Um, I've been seeing a lot of posts and videos about social media and um, photographers that I've been following for a while internationally that have been posting on this topic. And it seems to be an issue for a lot of photographers right now. So, we're going to just discuss where social media fits in, what social media maybe to use as a photographer, what's the pros and cons of different systems, are there any alternatives that we might be better off using, and yeah, just my views. So first off, these are my current views. They've changed quite a bit over the years when it comes to social media. Um, Social media used to also be very different to what it is today. So obviously, as the platforms have evolved and changed, so have my views on these topics. So yeah, just it's my current views, 2022, and yeah, we're just gonna have a quick look at the state of the different platforms and what's happening. And yeah, good. Um, If anybody's got questions, just pop them in the chat. This is going to be hopefully a bit of a discussion. So I want to see your views, your feelings on the different things as we discuss it. Like I said, these we're gonna talk about my views. I might see the platforms different to what you're using it for, and yeah. So just jump in the chat, ask questions, give me your opinions and views as well. It's I think it's worth discussing. Um, we're living in 2022. Social media is important for a lot of people. Most people with access to internet will have some form of social media or the other, and yeah, I think as photographers, it's definitely a thing we need to keep an eye on for different reasons, and we'll see a couple of those reasons just now. Good. Um, I'm going to go pretty quickly through the different topics, and yeah, let's get started. I'm not gonna wait any longer today. I think there's already quite a few people who joined. Thank you for joining. You're welcome to say hi in the chat as well. And let's get started. Okay. So let me hop into my slides. This is what we're talking about: social media and photography. And there in the corner I put honest discussion. So these are my current feelings. These are um yeah, like my honest opinion of where social media is right now and how we can use it and how we shouldn't use it. Good. Uh, just as just as some background, many years ago, I did a lot of online marketing and social media, also for different international companies, and as part of also doing photography and other things. So I think I've got a decent understanding over the years of how these platforms work, how to grow followings, that sort of thing. Um, and also how the features and the platforms evolve, because these things are constantly moving forward. They're putting new things in, they're taking things out, and the way these platforms work is not a consistent thing. So they could add in something that you don't like, and a few months later they remove it again. That's sort of what happens with these platforms. Okay, so just that's just the background. Let's keep going. So first off, I think it's worth saying, because there's so many people posting, especially photographers who are unhappy with a lot of these social media platforms right now and the direction these platforms are taking. It's worth saying, well, what is the problem? Why are people posting about this? Why are people worried about social media? Why don't they use it as much as they used to? What's happening with these platforms? Okay, so we're just quickly going to look at what is the problem. Why are people talking about it? So um, yeah, again, these are my opinions, although some of it informed by other photographers who are using social media as well. And then some of these are my current frustrations with social media, and specifically one or two of these platforms. Okay. Like I said, please interact in the chat. Give me your opinions as well. Ask your questions. Tell me you've got a different view on something, I would love to see that, especially on this topic. I think it's worth discussing all the different facets of it. And we've got time to do that tonight. Okay. Yeah, let's keep going. So that's basically what this is based on. There's people complaining about social media right now. A lot of big photographers who used to post a lot on social media are actually complaining about it. And that's the basis of this. We're going to look at what's happening. So I think the first thing we need to look at is, why are we using social media? And specifically today, why are we as photographers using social media? What are we getting from it? Why are we using it? That sort of thing. So based on this, for me, a good way of seeing what my motivations are and why me as a photographer, why I'm on social media, why I'm posting there, why I'm interacting there, why am I looking at other people's photos. There's a couple of reasons, and I think those reasons will be different for every single photographer. Whether you do it for a hobby, your reasons might be different. Whether you take photos to share with your family members that might be far away, that's a different motivation. If you're a professional photographer, you've got some business reasons maybe for using your social media platforms. So there's every single photographer, I think, needs to go back, just step back. Don't think you need to be on social media. Just step back and ask, why are you even on social media? Where are you going with your social media, and what are you trying to do with that? So that why is, I think, the key thing. And this is also why a lot of photographers are currently unhappy with some of the platforms. I think they've come to expect a certain performance on social media, but they're not stepping back and just asking, why are they actually there? What are they trying to accomplish with social media? Okay, so here's just an example. I do street photography as one thing that I do, one type of photography that I really enjoy doing. So in the context of me doing street photography, why am I using social media? Okay. Easy answer, it's to share my photos. I want to share the photos that I take out with other people. So that's the first why. But then the interesting thing is, if you keep asking why, so the next why will be, why am I sharing my photos? And the answer to that would be to reach more people. So I want my photos to be shared on social media so that more people can see it. Easy answer. But that's still not getting to the real reason. What's motivating me to take street photography photos in Johannesburg? So now we ask why again. And this is what I think we should, as photographers, keep doing. Why are we taking photos? Why are we sharing photos? What's the real reason behind everything? And now with the third why, we get to this one for me with street photography, is to show a positive side of Joburg. I very often see people post all sorts of bad things about Johannesburg on social media and other places, and obviously there's stuff wrong. Obviously things happen in Johannesburg. We all live here. We know the realities of Johannesburg. But I think, especially the mainstream media, obviously what's newsworthy is very often the negative stories. So as a street photographer, I try to focus on the friendly people, the happy people, the nicely dressed people. And I just want to show another side of Joburg that I think doesn't come across in mainstream media. So that's the third why. So we go from to share photos, to show it to more people. And then the real reason at the bottom for me, what motivates me to get out in the city, is to show the positive side of Joburg, the friendly people, the well-dressed people. Okay, so I think everybody needs to go through this little exercise and just see, like, why are we using social media, and then we can see which platform will fit our objective and work better for us. And now we can basically start looking at all the differences and what these platforms are doing. Okay, let's keep going. Just a couple of more examples when getting to that bottom why for different people. So for me, obviously with my street, we said it's about showing a positive side of Johannesburg, because there are many positive things, I believe, in Johannesburg. For somebody else, it could be to get feedback. So maybe photography is a hobby. You want to improve your photography. You're sharing your images just to get feedback. You want to be a better photographer. You want to ask questions. You want to get feedback on your images. That's another good reason. You want to document a topic. So something is happening. You've got a specific interest in something, whether it's an area or an event or specific people, whatever it is. A building might be demolished and a new one built up, and you want to document that topic and share it with other people. That's another good why. As a professional photographer, maybe you're a wedding photographer, you might be using social media as a way to promote your work and to get more work coming in. That's another very valid reason to be using social media. Okay. Then another one is to get inspiration. A lot of photographers go onto social media not necessarily to just share their own work, but also to get inspiration. Get inspiration to just pick up the camera and go out. You see a nice photo, you say, oh, that's amazing, I need to take more photos. You pick up your camera, you go out the door and you go take some photos. So inspiration is a big part, and keeping motivated with photography is sometimes hard. So inspiration is another good reason to be using social media. Let's keep going. Now, some of the issues of social media. What's happening with social media? Currently in 2022, some of these platforms are having issues. Some people are leaving some of these platforms. Some people have just stopped posting currently to some of these platforms. So why is that happening? One of the main things that I've picked up is a lot of people are feeling that social media, contrary to the name, right now in 2022 is not really social anymore. When a lot of these platforms started out, Facebook, for instance, when it started out, it connected me to my friends that might have been other side of the country or other side of the world, people that were with me at school, family. It just made the world smaller and allowed me to connect with all these people in all these other places, but people that I actually knew. And it was social. It felt like a social place, and we could interact and see what other people were doing that we actually knew. But right now, a lot of these platforms are actually not feeling social anymore. People are just reposting funny videos and doing all sorts of things that to me is actually distracting from social is interacting with people. And I think some of these platforms have lost that feeling of being a gathering place where we can be social with other people. Okay. Hi, Craig. Welcome. I see you say hello in the saw you say hello in the chat there. Okay, let's keep going. So that's one of the issues. A lot of people are feeling that social media is not really social anymore. Then the question is, can we actually change our behavior on the platform to make it more social? And I think in a lot of cases we can actually do this. We've been falling into a habit of using social media in a very specific way, and I think by changing a few things, we'll get back to this, we can make it feel more social and interactive again, like it used to many years ago. Another issue that a lot of people have got with it is they say they open up their social media and they scroll through, and most of what they see is people that they didn't follow, paid ads, all sorts of things that they weren't interested in the first place. They're not opening it up like they used to many years ago and just seeing stuff that their friends posted that they were interested in. Now they're seeing all sorts of other stuff when they're scrolling through social media, and that doesn't leave a good taste, and so they're not interested in social media anymore. Okay. As an example, think about, let's say, if you've been using Instagram for many years, think back to when you started using Instagram, and if you opened it up and you scrolled through, how many things did you see that you were interested in? Things posted by people that you actually know and followed on purpose. And compare that to if you open up your phone right now in Instagram and you scroll through, count how many people that you are actually following and interested in versus all the other things like ads and suggested posts and all these things that Instagram is putting in there that you didn't choose to see. So that ratio has completely changed over the last many years, and that's another complaint that a lot of people are having. They're opening up something like Instagram and they're seeing all these things, and it's not things that they opted in to see. It's things that Instagram is just showing them. Okay. Then the goals of a lot of these social media companies are not aligned to what we would want their goals to be. They're not there to just make us happy and help us to interact with our friends. They're there to make money, obviously. So hence the ads and all these other things that they're putting in. So this misalignment of goals is also creating, I think, frustration for a lot of people. Okay. They're companies. That's basically what it comes down to. And companies are driven by profit, and some of the decisions they make might not be in our best interest. Okay. Let's keep going again. Now, what are our options in 2022? Are there, how many platforms are there? What's the pros and cons? What's happening? Okay. So first option, as photographers, most of us would think about Instagram. So this has been a very popular platform, and the main reason for Instagram being a very popular platform with photography is when it started, a lot of us photographers thought this is the one for us. This is the platform that's been created specifically for photographers. We had YouTube, we had Facebook, we had some other things going around, but Instagram was really the first big mainstream one that was focused on photography. You couldn't share other things. You couldn't even share videos. You couldn't share websites or links. Nothing else. Instagram was started by just being able to share a photo. Okay. Which is why we all thought this is going to be the big one. So as photographers, we still think of Instagram in this way. It's a photo sharing platform, but in reality, right now where Instagram is they're copying things like TikTok. They're doing all the video stuff. They're doing reels. They're doing all sorts of things to try and compete with TikTok right now. And that's basically what the whole platform has evolved into. It's mainly a video platform. It's not as good for sharing photography anymore. If you share a video and a photo, if you look at how many people are going to see it that actually follow you, the photo will not do as well as the video, because Instagram is actually pushing the video side of their business. They want video to grow, and they, in effect, pushing down the photography side. So that's what's happening with a lot of people, and that's why a lot of photographers currently are leaving Instagram. Because they feel that this is a platform that started off as a photography platform, and now it's moved over to being a video platform. And valid reason. They're saying there's TikTok for short videos, there's YouTube for long videos. Why turn Instagram into a video platform? So that's a valid view of a lot of people and why they're leaving Instagram. But still, there's some amazing photographers on Instagram you can follow and get some really good inspiration. And it's still a valid platform. It's a really big platform. It's a well-used platform. And as photographers, a lot of us still use it. Okay. The only issue, like I said, is it's becoming very video centric. Okay. Next, we've got Facebook. Okay. Facebook is obviously a platform that we all know. It's the largest social media platform, so we can't ignore it. In a lot of cases, for if you may be something like a wedding photographer or so, you'd be using this also as a business tool. So Facebook is basically so big that we can't ignore it. That's also where we generally would tend to connect to our family and our friends, maybe old school friends, all the university friends, and because of this whole ecosystem, it is one that we need to discuss. Now, personally, in my view, the best thing that Facebook has currently got going for it would be Facebook groups. Okay? The normal Facebook feeds and things are similarly cluttered to what you would find in Instagram, but I think the best tool that Facebook gives us as photographers to get together, to be social, to build each other up, to help each other, to answer questions, to look at other work, is basically Facebook groups, because they a small community can basically run itself. You can get like-minded people together, and I think it's a very valid thing to use. So Facebook's got a lot of different things. It does video and all sorts of other things these days, but we shouldn't forget about Facebook groups. That's the one thing inside of Facebook, like I said, that's still for me a really positive thing. Okay, let's keep going. Twitter, that's the next big one in the ecosystem. Twitter is another really big one. It's been around for a very long time, and the one trend that I've been seeing currently on Twitter is a lot of big photographers, famous photographers, are actually not posting on Instagram anymore, but they've started posting to Twitter, which is an interesting trend. I've seen some interviews where they say, well, Instagram is going all video, and in Twitter, photos are actually doing better, and they like the interaction on Twitter. And if you follow the right people and you build a nice photography community, Twitter is a very, very good platform. So, like many other social media things, you need to be careful on who you follow, how many people you follow. You can very quickly escalate this thing um, to just see random stuff that you don't want. So, but if you are picky with your account and you follow the correct people, inspirational photographers, fellow photographers doing similar things that you're doing, and interacting with those people, Twitter is a pretty good platform, and the way it displays photos is actually very good. So photographers are moving to Twitter, a lot of big names, and they're using it very well, and they're growing followings there, and they're happy with the platform. Um, One of the issues with Twitter, though, is there's plenty of fake accounts, there's plenty of bots posting spam. So we have to be careful of these things. Twitter is trying to close these fake accounts and get rid of them. It's an ongoing struggle for them. And yeah, so that's just one thing to keep in mind when it comes to Twitter. But definitely some photographers are switching to Twitter, so it's something to keep an eye on as a photographer. Next platform, Pinterest. Pinterest is a really, really nice and underrated platform, in my opinion. Okay, a lot of people, if you are maybe in doing couples shoots, family shoots, wedding photography, Pinterest is a really good place to get inspiration, to put boards together with ideas like mood boards. It's also a good place for the photographers focusing on these genres to have a presence. So potential clients might see your work there, and they might book you by seeing some of your work on Pinterest. Um, it's a really nice platform. Pinterest, the people at Pinterest are saying they're sort of the last happy corner of the internet. A lot of these other platforms have got spam and ads and all sorts of things that people don't want, and it doesn't feel as nice as it used to. Where Pinterest is saying, we're teaching people things, we're giving people inspiration, we're giving people ideas, whether it's for hobbies or crafts or photography, whatever, they're trying to inspire people and give them new ideas, whether you're renovating your house, whatever you're doing. They're basically saying we are the happy place where people can find good things. And I think in a big way, they're actually accomplishing this. Now, what's good about Pinterest, except for being the nice happy corner of the internet, is if you post something on Pinterest, it lives there for a very long time. If you post on Twitter, if you post on Instagram, your post or your photo or image that you put out there has got a very limited lifespan. The people see it for a couple of days, and then it just peters out and it disappears, and people don't interact with that content again. Where on Pinterest, things tend to resurface again as people find it and do searches, and it gets added to new boards, and then it gets suggested to other people when they do similar searches. So if you've got really nice images, they will just for years be keep on resurfacing as people find it again, which is a really nice thing. Then another good thing with Pinterest is you can have links to your website built into that post. So you share your image and you can link that to your website. So if you're a professional photographer, people can click and go back to your website, which is quite a nice thing. People can find your business and your website through Pinterest. Pinterest also shows up in Google searches when people search for specific topics or images. Pinterest might come up. So if you've got images there, people might also find you through Google. Um, the only thing that detracts a little bit from the Pinterest ecosystem versus some of the others is there's less interaction, less comments. Because the way it is the way it is structured, you'll find that it doesn't feel as social. It feels more like you're putting something out, and then every couple of months something happens to it. Somebody reposts or pins it. It doesn't feel as interactive, and you don't get as many comments and interactions on every post you do. But it's definitely worth having a look at as a photographer, because it's very visual. It's basically image focused, and people use it to get inspiration and ideas. Next off, Vero. Now, this is one that a lot of people don't even know, but I've seen a couple of influencers on social media, as well as specifically photographers and street photographers, who've actually now switched over to Vero from Instagram. So Vero feels very new. It feels like the new kid on the block, but it's been around for quite a few years. It started off with a bang. It had a lot of press, and then it just faded out, and people didn't use it. It didn't get that big growth that they wanted. But it's been around for years. It's a very nice platform. It's beautiful for sharing photos on. It's a nice interactive platform. And like I said, suddenly some photographers have now started taking notice of Vero, and I see photographers that I know and well-known photographers daily joining Vero and starting to new accounts and starting to post, which is encouraging. Might be a good sign for the system. Some of the really nice things with Vero is there's no ads. It's not ad supported. Right now it's completely free and no ads. What they did say is eventually, if it gets to be big enough, they might ask new subscribers joining at that stage for an small annual subscription fee just to keep the platform going. But anybody currently, if you join Vero right now, it's absolutely for free, and you won't see ads on the platform by the looks of it ever. It's only people in future, once the platform has gotten to be big, that will be paying that annual subscription fee. So that might be a reason by itself to join, even if you don't really use it right now. Just open that account and have it around. But also look around, look for other photographers you know that inspires you, and start interacting with them. The platform is small, which is really nice. So some of the large, well-known photographers that on Instagram has got hundreds of thousands of followers that can't respond to interactions because there's just too many on a platform like Instagram. You could connect with them. They might have a couple of hundred followers right now on Vero, and I've seen that if you ask questions about how they captured a specific image, they actually answer right now on Vero. Because the platform is so small, they can take the time. They're not getting as many questions and comments and things. So right now it seems to be quite a nice platform. It's a lot smaller though, so the con of Vero right now is a lot of people aren't there. So if you're joining thinking that all your friends and fellow photographers are there, probably not. Only a small percentage of them would be on Vero right now. We're hoping it grows, and but yes, you'll have less interaction and smaller communities right now on Vero, which I think is not a bad thing. Smaller groups, more interaction is actually, it feels fresh and nice. So Vero is something to keep an eye on. It has a tablet app, it has a mobile app, and it has a desktop app. So could be good to use. At least have a look. It's beautifully designed. Photos work really well on it. And like I said, try and find others like-minded photographers and interact with them. You'll be surprised how social it feels compared to what some of the other platforms are doing right now. It almost feels like the old Instagram or old Facebook, where it was really personal and you could build real social one-to-one connections with people. Okay, so that's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on. We're hoping, holding thumbs, that they actually make a success of this platform. Then there's another option, two options actually, and I'm going to handle them together because they're in a very similar position. We've got 500px and Flickr. If you've been a photographer for long enough, you will know these two names. You probably had an account. You probably still have an account. And if you're like me, you're probably not posting to them anymore. So these were two very popular photo sharing websites or platforms, and they, back in their heyday, they were amazing for photography. You could get good inspiration. There was nice interaction. I think one of the things that happened was the platform was geared and built only for photographers, and normal non-photographers didn't join. So for instance, for professional photographers, you couldn't find your clients or potential clients on 500px or Flickr. So a lot of those professional photographers moved to other platforms to interact with their potential clients. okay, to get to new markets, maybe to get new clients calling them up or whatever for work. So I think that was one downfall of these two platforms, and it's one reason why a lot of professionals aren't using these anymore. But they're still around. You can still use them. And if you want to interact with other photographers, there are still quite a few photographers on these platforms, and they might be worth a look. Okay. Next. So just a quick little note on currently what I'm trying to do with my social media, and maybe that tells you a little bit about, firstly, what's happening on social media versus what was happening a few years ago. Um, and just to maybe give you some insights on my feelings of how we can use it as photographers. Okay. So first off, it used to be about building bigger communities. A place like Instagram used to be many years ago about getting a large following, getting all this interaction, trying to get clients maybe as a professional photographer. It was building big communities. And for me personally, what's happened now on basically all the current social media platforms that I've been using for a long time, and that includes Twitter, it includes Facebook, and it includes Instagram for me. Those three especially, I'm basically trying to unfollow people and build smaller, more connected social communities. So instead of trying to have an account that's really big with a lot of people on it that aren't really adding value and are posting things that I don't want to see, I'm trying to get basically rid of following all these random people that I followed in the past. So I'm trying to narrow down. So my aim right now in social media is when I open my phone and I open, let's say, Instagram, I want to see a post that I like, somebody that I know, somebody that I've interacted with, somebody maybe that I respect as a photographer, and a client that I've done a shoot for before, a fellow photographer in Joburg Photowalkers. These are the people I want to see, people that I want to interact with. So it's been my mission every day to go through and get rid of people just maybe reposting funny videos or doing things on social media that I don't want to see. I'm getting rid of that. I'm unfollowing them. I'm muting them. I'm doing whatever I can on that platform to not see that type of content. If I want to know what's in the news, I'll go to a news site. I don't want to see people posting news or whatever. So I'm focusing on making my social feeds a positive place where I'm getting inspiration as a photographer, and it literally means following less people, and then if I'm following less people, I can have more meaningful, more regular interactions with these people. Like really build a connection, really encourage people as photographers, really ask questions, and make my photography better as well, getting inspiration. So I don't want that feeling where I'm opening up Facebook or Instagram and I'm just scrolling, trying to find a good photo. That experience I'm trying to get rid of. So basically, I need to follow less people, more quality people, people that I know. Um, that's my aim. I'm not sure I'm going to perfectly get there because some of these platforms they're popping all sorts of ads and things in, but that's where I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get to a place where I can have meaningful interaction. So if I'm thinking back many years ago to the older Instagrams and Facebooks, I'm trying to get back to that experience where I actually either know the people in person or I know of them as being good photographers or whatever it is, and where I can take my time and interact. Okay. Um, I'm also posting less. I think I'm trying not to put pressure on myself to just put an image out. If I've got nothing to share, I'm not going to think about something or take a photo specifically now to post on Instagram or something. I'm going about my normal things. Once in a while, when I'm editing and I find a nice photo, I think maybe I should post this to social media. So I'm not putting any pressure on myself anymore to continuously post to social media. I think for me, those days are gone, and to be more let's say honest on social media, I'm going to basically post less, but post things that I think people would be interested in, and that's quality images. Yeah. So again, back to that interaction. I'm not going to try and just put something to get it in somebody else's feed. I'm going to post something that I actually like, an image that I enjoy taking, or I just enjoy the image. That's what I'm going to post. And if I haven't got anything to post, then I'd rather go and interact with somebody else and tell them what cool image they posted, or ask a question about their image. And that's going to be more meaningful to me than just trying to get X amount of posts per week out. So yeah, that's how I'm trying to change my interaction with the social media. So yeah, it all comes down to, I'm trying to get the platform to show me things that I want to see, and not have all these other things. I'm doing everything in my in 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 my power to try and manipulate the system to have more meaningful interactions. Okay, let's keep going. Now, this is another topic that I think we need to talk about: is, do we have other options? Okay, so we started off with saying, why are we using social media? What are we trying to accomplish? Now, whether it is doing something like showing Johannesburg in a more positive light, like my street photography I'm trying to do, or if it's getting more client bookings, or if it's getting inspiration for your photography, we've got our why. Why did we use social media, or why are we using social media? Now we have to also ask, are there better places, non-social media, that will actually work out better to accomplish those goals? So should we even be on social media, or are there better things to do? Okay, let's look at that. First off, website, your own website. So if you're a professional, even a hobby or amateur photographer, I think a website is a really nice thing to have. You can have a blog or a website and just post your images there, post your ideas there, write something about an image if you want, write something about a topic, start a project about an area or a topic or whatever is interesting to you, and just keep putting it on your website. You'd be surprised how many people will find websites through searches. There's some things that you can obviously do, especially if you're a professional and you want bookings. You can get ads to it. You can put quality content on there so Google can find it. There's all these little things. But even if it's just for yourself and a place to put your work, and a place that you can, if somebody asks you about your photography, you can say, go to this site, have a look at what I'm doing. This is what I'm interested in. This is what I like as a photographer. And it's not cluttered. There's no ads. There's no other people. There's no funny videos. There's none of that. Your website is your design, looks the way you want, complements your images, and it's a nice place to just show off your work. And I think it's definitely something we shouldn't forget. It's so easy to just keep falling into this trap of posting to social media, getting some likes, getting some comments, to posting the next image, posting the next image. But if you think about building up a body of work, or building up a portfolio, or just having a place where you can tell people, this is where you can go to see my work, there's not many things that will do that as well as a website. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, is think about just starting a website. It's, in most cases, it's a lot cheaper than you think. As photographers, we're paying a lot more for things like Lightroom or whatever. This is a fraction of the cost. There's open source tools like WordPress. Hosting is actually these days very cheap. And yeah, having a website, I think, for any photographer is a good idea, especially if you want to do it professionally. Okay. You control the complete experience from the moment somebody comes into your website to when they eventually leave. That whole experience is under your control. They're in your house. You're not building something on a company's platform like a Facebook or whatever. This is the place where you can control what people see and what they experience through your photography. Okay. There's no distractions. There's no another click on something else that looks interesting next to what you posted. There's only your work and what you are trying to tell people. Okay, you own it. It's yours. Nobody's going to change it. Nobody's going to break it. Nobody's going to go bankrupt and close down the system. It's yours. It's your website. Yeah. I think you get the point. And then one other thing is, if you do have a website, one thing that you can also do is just include a newsletter. So people can subscribe to your newsletter on your website. And then whenever you post a new image or you've got something to write about, whatever, they get an email about that, whatever topic it is. And that's nice for people to keep in touch. So they don't have to always to go back to your website if they're interested in your work, if it's even if it's family or friends. Every time you post something new to your website, that email can go out and tell people this is what you put on your website, and they can keep in touch that way. So yeah, a newsletter is a nice thing, or a subscription to your website or your blog, whatever you want to call it. It works the same. Okay, let's keep going. More options, communities, and I think this is something that that we really are missing out on in a lot of cases, and that we don't necessarily think about. The one good thing is, hopefully, everybody here in the training is part of Joburg Photowalkers, and that's a really positive, encouraging community. So this is the sort of thing that we need to promote more, and a place where we should be sharing more in smaller communities, not in the bigger Instagram with millions of people and hopefully getting big exposure on an image. I think we need to get back to smaller groups, smaller communities, and have positive interaction as photographers. Um, and it's yeah, definitely something to think about. Now, examples of smaller communities, you can look for Facebook groups. That's a really good place to. So if you're interested in landscape photography, you can find really cool Facebook groups where there are landscape photographers. You can talk about all the things interesting about landscape photography. You can get tips there. You can share your work. You can get feedback. Once in a while, some of these communities are let's call it a little bit toxic. So you just have to figure out and find positive upbuilding communities that's actually going to help you with your photography, or where you can help other people with their photography, which is also important, I think. Both ways is something that works well. But just find these little pockets, these little communities in places like Facebook groups. There might be WhatsApp groups. There's different software platforms where people can have little communities or little groups, and it's structured on a shared interest or a topic that all these people are interested in. And I think in a lot of cases, that's more upbuilding and will be better for photographers to interact there than just on the bigger platforms out in the open, like Instagrams and things. Um, Most people, if you've got a post on Instagram that goes really big and a lot of people see it, a lot of those people might not be photographers. They might not have good feedback for you. Even if you ask questions about settings or something, a lot of people on places like Instagram won't know. Where these smaller communities focused on a specific topic, that's a lot of the time where these experts might be, that can actually help you take your photography to the next step. Okay, so then another part of communities is just in-person communities, getting together with a couple of other photographers, having a monthly coffee date with 5 other photographers interested in the same topic. I think as photographers, very often we can work alone, whether it's in a studio or doing street photography or whatever we do. We very often work alone, and I think to take our photography to the next level, to stay motivated to do photography, we need these communities. And having something in person, whether you go on a photo walk with Joburg Photowalkers, whether you just know 2 or 3 other photographers in your area that are interested in the same type of photography that you are, once a month go have a coffee, have a lunch, whatever you do. Talk about photography, talk about what you're struggling with, talk about where you want to go, um, just to get some motivation going. And there's very few things that's better at doing this than just meeting up in person. Luckily, after the last 2 years, we're back to a place where we can do this, um, and I think it's important. And instead of going to, again, to the big platforms with the millions of people, do those one-on-one 2 3 4 people together connections, and help each other with their photography. um yeah, small groups. Thank you. We've got a comment saying it's useful. Absolutely. And I think if you can't find a small group with a similar interest than what you've got, maybe start one. Talk to another photographer that does similar work to what you're doing. Start a group, whichever way you're doing it, on the internet, in person. If you can't find a group, start a group. It's definitely worth doing, because as photographers, we very often go through long spells where we don't pick up our cameras, we don't feel motivated to pick up a camera. We've done all this work and we've done amazing things and we've taken amazing photos, and then we just go through a spell where we don't feel like taking photos. We don't feel like taking the camera and going out the door and taking images. Where these little groups, these little regular get-togethers, that very often motivates me. Just talking to somebody else who does similar things generally helps me a lot to just get that motivation back to go and take photos, because in the end, that's what we want to do. We want to take nice photos. Something that we're personally proud of. It's not about all the people on social media looking at the image. It's about doing work that you are personally proud of, and having small groups to support is definitely a good thing, which is why something like Joburg Photowalkers, the WhatsApp, the Facebook group, these things are important. But also find smaller groups. If you meet somebody on a photo walk and they like the same things that you like in photography, like set up a regular coffee or something, put a couple of people together, just yeah, a Zoom call, WhatsApp group. Just think about these things, and because the name is social media, but in a lot of cases it's very impersonal, where doing these sort of things, smaller groups, communities, is much more social than social media is currently. Okay. Yeah, that's just another example of other options we've got when we don't want to do just social media. Okay, more options. Okay, so this is another interesting one. A lot of people aren't printing anymore. I love printing photos. I've got a small little printer that prints normal size, like postcard size images. I love printing stuff and putting it on the wall, whether it's family photos or photos that I took out on walks or whatever. I think we completely forget that we can print things. You can put a little book together and email it off to a company that just prints you a little book. You can have one for your coffee table with images that you took. When somebody comes and visits, when there's a family member, there's a book for them to look at your work. There's a photo against the wall. It doesn't have to be extreme quality if it's for yourself in your house or whatever, but put it somewhere where people can see. I know photographers who got started in selling fine art prints by going to their local coffee shop and asking if they can put a couple of prints on the wall there. We very often forget that the experience of having something in your hand, or looking at something on a wall, is actually probably much better than looking at a screen. So it's another thing that everybody might be scrambling to get their piece of the pie on social media, but there's this whole other world that a lot of people are just forgetting about. Maybe instead of buying the advertisement on social media, you can get the same or better reaction by printing a couple of your best prints, sending it off in the mail to prospective customers, or delivering it to a company that you think you want to work with. Having a physical printed sample of your work, in a lot of cases, will do more for getting clients, if you're a professional, if that's what you're interested in, than posting something on social. Next time you're posting your family photos for the rest of the family, other side of the world, to see on social media, maybe print a postcard and mail it to them on the other side of the world. Let them have something they can put up on the refrigerator to remind them of what you're doing. Yeah, don't forget about printing things. It's something that I think, with where social media is right now, a lot of people are just forgetting about physical printed work. Okay. Obviously, if you're doing it professionally, this is another avenue where you can actually sell work. You can sell books, you can sell prints. But even for somebody who's not doing photography professionally, I think just print something, put it on the fridge. It's definitely worth doing. Okay. Now, another thing, and sharing versus inspiration. This is something that I had a long think about today when I was preparing for today's training. So I think in a lot of cases with social media, we're using it because we're combining sharing and inspiration. So we joined many years ago, joined Instagram because we could share our work for people to see. And then we could look at other people's work to get inspiration, be inspired to pick up the camera, to go out the door and take beautiful, beautiful images, to improve our own work. So we used it for two reasons. One, platform. So Instagram, for instance, in its heyday when it was really amazing, we use it to share and we used it to get inspiration. But I think what we are often forgetting is we can actually split these two. It doesn't need to be the same thing or the same place, the same platform. We can split it. Okay? So we can use one platform to share. We can use another platform to get inspiration from. We could use one medium to share our work, and then use a completely different medium to get inspiration or feedback. So before social media, that's the way it was. If you were a famous photographer, you maybe had an exhibition and you put your work up in a gallery, and that was your way of sharing so that people could come and view your work and see the world like, hopefully, like you saw the world through your photography. And you could communicate whatever you wanted. You could focus on a topic and communicate something. So sharing was separate from finding inspiration. So for finding inspiration, before social media and the internet, you had to go to a gallery and look at somebody else's work. You might have watched a movie and found inspiration in a color or something that was in the movie. Before we had streaming services and we actually went to movies. You could just go outside and see something, a building, a shape, a something, and find inspiration in that. So previously, before things like Instagram, the sharing part and the inspiration part were very separate in a lot of cases. But now we're trying to find a platform that does both. And I think it's good for us to just step back and think, well, maybe we should split it. Maybe this one platform is a good place to share my work and get feedback and see what other people think of it. But this other place is a good place for me to go just to get inspiration. It's not where I'm sharing, but I'm getting inspiration. Now, if we do split the two, we can look at sharing in a very different way. So one thing that we could look at with sharing is we could share to do marketing. So if photography is a business for you, if you're making money from your photography, you might be sharing to as part of your marketing. You could share on social media, you could share wherever, and it all is part of your actual marketing. You could print something and mail it off. That's sharing. You could mail it off to a potential customer or 10 companies that might be interested in your work. That's sharing your work for the purpose of marketing. So you could do that in person. You could give somebody a print. You could do it on your website. You could do that with online ads. You could buy ads to get your work out there. You could do other ads, print ads, magazine ads, whatever other ads you want to do. You could do, like I said, physical mailing out of samples of your work, and that's all for marketing. So that's sharing just to market. Now, sharing to get feedback, that's another reason why some people share their images. And for anybody who's a photographer, professional or not, sharing to get feedback is a really good thing. Now we have to think about where we're sharing it to, who are the people looking at it, what do they know about photography, is it the correct people to show this to, do they actually know something about photography firstly, and do they know something about the type of photography that I'm interested in. So I'm not going to share street photography photos just on random Instagram and ask for advice, because most people who just scroll through Instagram might not know anything about street photography, and the advice they give me might not be correct. Okay? But if there's a community or a group specifically for street photography, maybe for black and white street photography, and I've got some question about a setting and I share an example image, I might get very good feedback. Editors, magazine editors, gallerists who put gallery exhibitions together, experts in photography, that they might not be photographers, but they know art, they know what works, they're experts in looking at photography, not necessarily taking photos. These types of people can give you really valuable feedback, but then one or two people can give me better feedback than a million people that are just random people finding my post on Instagram. So think about where you're sharing it and what type of feedback you're going to be getting. In a photography group, sharing in a WhatsApp group or something where there's photographers interested in the same thing, that's a good place to share and ask for feedback. Um, yeah, so if your idea is to share for feedback, find places where it's good and positive and where you'll get good feedback that you can trust. Okay. You can do it in person. If there's a photographer who you like their work, offer them to buy them a coffee, or see if they can spare the time to just give you some feedback. A lot of photographers, very good photographers, will be happy to just over a coffee discuss your work. Some of them might say, well, I'll see it as a training session, so there might be a fee for that hour or two giving you feedback on a portfolio. But one-on-one feedback is really valuable, and in many cases much more valuable than what the internet thinks about something. Popular opinion is not always correct opinion, especially when you're looking long term and about a career and building a portfolio. Um, Things like clubs, photography clubs, that could be a valuable place to get feedback. Competitions could be an interesting place to get feedback. There are some very dodgy competitions that are just about making money and you need to pay to get your image in. Most competitions you will have to pay to get your image in, because obviously they've got overheads. They might be flying judges to a central location. They're doing maybe marketing of the competition. So very few competitions will be free, but just find the really legit competitions if you want to enter competitions with your photography. Look for affiliated things with like professional photographers associations, places like this, or affiliated to clubs, whatever you can find that makes it a bit more legit. And also where you don't get that feeling where they're just trying to make money and not really care about photography. Look at the credentials of the judges. Are they award-winning photographers? Are they editors of magazines? Are they gallery owners? Who are these people looking at the images? Can you trust how they judge the images? The types of competitions where you enter your image and people have to send a text message to vote, and you phone all your friends and family to vote for your image, they're generally not good for feedback. That's general public, and it depends on how many people I phone to get to vote for me. Good competitions to enter would firstly have judges with very good credentials in the photography industry. Secondly, a lot of those types of competitions you can spot because they would offer you critique. So as you enter, either as part of your entry or for a nominal fee above your entry, they would offer to maybe record a video or send you a printed out thing with critique that one of the judges actually give you. So they would score your images, and then one of the judges will go back and actually tell you what the other judges said. They'll give you good feedback on why something did well or not, and what you can improve based on what the judges discussed when they did the judging. So that sort of competition will actually give you good feedback, and it might be worth looking at something like that if you're interested. Just make sure you pick a good one. So those are ways where you can share to get feedback other than just social media. Next, if you're using social media mainly to get inspiration for your photography, what other options are there? What else can we do? Okay, um, so first off, I like books. Instead of just scrolling through Instagram and seeing what people are doing, a lot of photographers, if they just look at, let's say, Instagram, they see very similar images coming through their feed that a lot of people are liking. And because they're looking at these same images day in and day out of the same people sharing similar images, their own photography starts looking like that. And that might not necessarily be a good thing. In the end, then everything trends in a specific direction, and then somebody else starts a trend, and then it moves in that direction, and everything looks the same again. You get these trends that go through social media, and nobody's building up a really personal style of photography that's recognizable as that person's work, because they're just following these trends and doing whatever is popular on Instagram. So what I like to do is find like well-known photographers of many years ago, usually, that made amazing work in their own style, and just look at many people with many different styles to try and figure out where my style fits in and what I want to personally do. Get inspiration from books. Now, the first thing that you can do with books is, and this is where I started when I started photography, I looked at books like this, books about photography. When I thought about, I need to get better at photography, I need to buy a book about photography, then books like this. This is the Street Photographer's Manual. Okay, so this is where I started, learned a lot of technical things and amazing things about composition and all sorts of things from books like this. There's plenty of them about. That's a good place to start. But what I found over the years is those aren't the good books to get inspiration for me personally. The really good books for getting inspiration are rather books like this. See, Elliot Irwit's Paris. This is this one. This is one of my favorite books of all time, and surprisingly, it's not a big coffee table photo book with glossy pages and amazing paper and amazing print. It's a very cheap little. It's a softbound book, but some of my favorite photos of all time are actually in this one. So maybe look at photo books that people put out in whatever. If you're interested in wildlife photography, look at wildlife photography books. Generally you would find them to be coffee table type books with just wildlife photography in. It doesn't need to be a book that explains settings or anything, just beautiful photography. That will give you ideas, it will give you inspiration, it will make you pick up that camera and go out the door and take more photos. So books like this really does it for me. I just want to show you one photo. Let me show you. This is one of my favorite photos of all time. Let me take this little badge away. Can you see that? There you go. Very old photo. It's by Elliot Irwit. And the amazing thing is, he took this photo with everybody looking out the window. So there's all these waiters and staff in a restaurant in Paris, and they're all looking out the window. We don't know what they're looking at. Maybe another photographer, your instinct would be to go out the door and find what these people are looking at and photograph that. There's obviously something interesting happening outdoor. But Elliot Irwit thought the picture of the people looking out is more interesting than whatever was happening outside. And that's amazing. And it taught me as well, when I go to events, when there's a parade through town, when there's something happening, when there's a sports event, whatever, sometimes turning the other way, away from the stage, away from the parade, and looking at the people, more interesting than looking at what's happening. So like I said, one of my favorite photos, and photos like this and books like this gives me more inspiration than any social media or any handbooks about photography. Yes, we need to know the technical things and learn from handbooks, but just looking at beautiful photography in print in a book can be really inspiring. And the nice thing is you can go back to these books and look at them again and again, and every time you see something different. Okay, go to exhibitions, go to photography exhibitions, go to exhibitions of other art, whether it is paintings or whatever in a gallery. Look at other art. Look at a nice movie that you know the director of photography really knows what he's doing. Look at how he put it together, how he lit the scenes, how things come together. Just find inspiration in art and in other art. It doesn't necessarily need to be a photography exhibition, although that is really good to go to. Just go to places where you can find inspiration, and it doesn't need to be social media. So that's another option. Okay, just an open invite. If anybody is interested in things like street photography, street portraits, cityscape, something like that, I'm always happy to discuss things like that in a group setting, in this training WhatsApp that we've set up. If there's somebody who wants to do like a monthly coffee meeting, like we said about the communities, I feel strongly about it. So if anybody wants to have a monthly coffee or something, or a walk and do some of these things, we can schedule it on the Joburg Photowalkers app as well, the meetup. It's a really amazing community we've got, and I think we need to use it. Post our photos, get the feedback, and yeah, have a good community there. That's better than just posting it on random bigger accounts and things. Okay, so that's just an open invite. If you feel you want to discuss any of these things, contact me. Send me a message. Send me an email. Contact me through WhatsApp. Yeah. Then where are we? Questions. Are there any questions? Or just your views on social media and what's happening, and where are you having success and what's inspiring you? Where do you like going? Which ones of these platforms you don't like going to? Give me your opinions. Ask any questions you want. I'm happy to answer anything there or to discuss anything. Do you feel differently to me on any of these topics that we talked about? I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for anybody to ask there. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. Let's see. So I do see in the WhatsApp for the training, some people are stuck at work and stuck in traffic and all sorts of things. So I'm sure I'll get some feedback and questions as well. Once they watch it, they're going to watch the replay, they said. So we'll see what happens. We'll give you feedback, hopefully in future, on anything that's happening there. Good. If there's no further questions or remarks or anything about this, I hope it just made you think about what we're doing. Social media right now is something where a lot of people are spending a lot of hours every week on, and I think it can be positive. It's a tool like many others. Like a camera is just another tool. You can use it for positive things, you can use it for negative things. And I think just slowing down and thinking about the whole topic is probably worth it. It is definitely for me. So I hope at least some of this made you think about why you're using social media and how you're using it. Cool. If you watch this after on the replay, or if you wake up tomorrow morning with a question, just post it on the WhatsApp or email me or contact me, or post it here in the comments on YouTube and I'll see it there. I'm happy to answer any questions, happy to hear your views on it, and then we're going to call it for tonight. Have a good evening, everybody. Cheers.